Some of these Nintendo Switch games just refuse to let go. Whether it's one more run, one more crop, or one more fight, these games pull you in and don't let go. Here are 20 of the most addictive Switch games you need to play. Mina the Hollower. You play as Mina, a genius mouse inventor and member of the Hollowers Guild. She travels to a gothic island called Tenebrous Isle after her friend Baron Lionel asks her to investigate why her spark generators technology she built to power the island have gone dark. Her ship gets wrecked on the way there, and things just spiral from that point. The gameplay feels like classic Game Boy Zelda Link's Awakening vibes all the way, but with combat that's tight and satisfying. You can wield a whip, dual daggers, or a giant hammer, and each weapon plays completely differently. The star mechanic is the hollowing. Mina can literally dig underground, dodge through attacks, cross hazards, and dig up hidden loot. 6 open biomes connect to a central hub town, and you can tackle them in any order. There's no map either, so you rely on NPC hints and environmental clues to navigate. Boss fights are tough and memorable. Hollow Knight Silksong. This time, you're playing as Hornet, the fast and deadly hunter from the first game. She gets captured and taken to an unfamiliar kingdom called Farloon, a place ruled by silk and song, and she needs to fight her way to the top of this fallen world to reach its peak. The gameplay is a Metroidvania at its core. You explore a massive interconnected world, unlock new abilities, and use them to access new areas. But Hornet moves completely differently from the Knight. She's faster, more acrobatic, and hits with a needle that rewards aggression. Her signature dive attack changes how you approach both platforming and combat entirely. You also craft tools, traps, and mechanisms that add a whole extra layer to fights. The bosses are genuinely some of the best in the genre, creative, intense, and fair once you learn the patterns. The world design is stunning, filled with secrets and optional routes you can easily miss on a first playthrough. Ball X Pit. The city of Balbalon got destroyed by a meteor, leaving a giant pit behind. Treasure hunters show up to loot the place and rebuild new Balbalon above ground, and you're one of them. The core gameplay is Arkanoid-style brick-breaking, but cranked up into a roguelite with bullet hell elements. You control adventurers who bounce balls into waves of monsters descending toward them. Each character plays differently. Some fire explosive balls, some can wrap balls around the screen, some are stealthy. Between runs, you build and manage a town above ground, using resources you collected in the pit. And that town building actually uses the same ball-bouncing mechanic to harvest materials. It sounds chaotic, and it is in the best way. 8 biomes get unlocked as you go deeper, each with its own hazards and bosses that fill the screen. You mix and match characters, builds, and upgrades to craft wild strategies every single run. Animal Crossing: New Horizons. You get dropped on a deserted island with a tent, some basic tools, and a raccoon named Tom Nook, who is technically your landlord. From there, you build a whole community from nothing, planting trees, catching bugs and fish, designing your home, and slowly turning an empty island into your own personal paradise. The gameplay loop runs in real time, meaning the game's seasons, events, and daily activities match your actual clock and calendar. You water flowers in the morning, check in on your animal neighbors, dig up fossils, and spend evenings decorating your town layout. There's no fail state, no real pressure. It's one of the most genuinely relaxing games ever made. But somehow, it still pulls you in every single day. New villagers can move in, your friends can visit your island online, and holidays bring seasonal events and limited items that reward coming back regularly. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's Mario Kart on Switch, with every track from every previous game eventually included through the Booster Course Pass. Over 96 courses total. If you haven't played it, you throw a shell at someone, they spin out, you laugh. And then they blue shell you right before the finish line, and you question your choices in life. The gameplay is tight and smooth. You drift around corners to build up boost, grab item boxes to get weapons, and race across some of the most creative and visually wild tracks Nintendo has ever made. Anti-gravity sections flip the course upside down, underwater routes and sky-high loops keep every race feeling dynamic. The character roster is massive, and every vehicle stat combination changes how your cart handles. 200 cubic centimeters mode is pure chaos for veterans. 4 people on one couch, 8 on 2 switches, or 12 online. It scales beautifully. It's been one of the best-selling games on the platform since launch, and people still play it daily. Dave the Diver does not look like it should work. It's a game where you manage a sushi restaurant by day and go scuba diving for fresh ingredients by night. And somehow, it's one of the most addictive games on the platform. During the day, you're running your restaurant, taking orders, managing staff, unlocking new menu items, and growing your reputation. At night, you dive into the Blue Hole, a mysterious ocean trench where the depth, layout, and creatures change every time you go down. You harpoon and catch fish, manage your oxygen, deal with predators, and discover underwater ruins full of secrets. The deeper you go, the more dangerous and strange it gets. The story slowly reveals there's way more going on beneath the surface. There's an entire civilization down there, and the narrative goes places you genuinely don't expect. You also farm seaweed, run a fish farm, befriend a cast of eccentric characters, and unlock wild cooking techniques as your restaurant grows. Hades. You are trying to escape the underworld and reach the surface. Every run, you fight through procedurally generated rooms, Tartarus, Asphodel, Elysium, battling waves of mythological enemies with one of several weapons, each completely different in feel and playstyle. You die a lot. When you die, you go back to the start, but the story keeps moving forward. With every death, Zagreus talks to gods, shades, and family members each time he returns, and slowly, the full picture of why he's actually trying to escape comes together. Every run, you pick up boons from Olympian gods. Zeus throws lightning, Artemis gives critical hits, Dionysus inflicts poison, and combining them creates totally different builds each time. The combat is fast, fluid, and satisfying on a second-to-second basis. Permanent upgrades, called the Mirror, let you grow stronger over time, even when you keep dying, so progression never stops. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Every fighter ever, across decades of gaming history, on one roster. Over 80 characters, 103 stages, thousands of pieces of music. The pitch writes itself. You pick a character and punch other characters off a floating platform until someone flies off the edge. But the depth underneath that simplicity is enormous. Every character has a unique moveset, frame data matters at high level, and the gap between a beginner and a veteran is massive. Casual play with items on is pure chaos and fun, while competitive play without items is a completely different sport. World of Light is a massive single-player adventure mode, where you free fighters and spirits from a corrupted world. The spirit system lets you augment your characters with ability boosts and passive effects, adding an RPG layer to the roster. Online still keeps a global community active, and local multiplayer with up to 8 players on one screen is one of the best party gaming experiences money can buy. Vampire Survivors. You move. Everything else shoots automatically. And somehow, this is one of the most addictive games ever made. You drop into a top-down arena, a haunted library, a mad forest, a dairy plant, and waves of enemies swarm you from every direction. Your character fires weapons on their own, and every few seconds, you level up and pick a new weapon or upgrade from a small selection. The goal is to survive 30 minutes. That sounds manageable until minute 5, when the screen turns completely black with enemies. The real depth is in the build's weapons evolve into massively powerful forms when combined with the right passive items, and discovering which combinations work is endlessly satisfying. The permanent currency system lets you unlock new characters, maps, and items over time, so each session contributes to your overall collection. There are dozens of characters with unique starting weapons and stats, and secret unlocks hide everywhere. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Donkey Kong and his crew get blasted off their island by an army of frozen Viking animals, the Snowmads, and you have to fight across 5 unique worlds to take it back. The gameplay is classic run and jump, but with a momentum system and enemy design so well-tuned that simply moving through a level feels great. Dixie Kong lets you float with her ponytail spin, Cranky Kong pogo bounces on his cane, and Funky Kong, in handheld mode, makes things more forgiving. Every world has a distinct environment and set of gimmicks: sunken ships, savanna fires, wind-swept mountain peaks. The levels are meticulously designed, rewarding sharp eyes and precise movement, with hidden puzzle pieces and Kong letters. The boss fights are creative and fun rather than punishing. The soundtrack by David Wise is genuinely some of the best music in any Nintendo game. Atmospheric, jazzy, perfectly matched to each level's mood. Celeste is a game about climbing a mountain, and also about anxiety, self-doubt, and learning to live with the harder parts of yourself. You play as Madeline, a young woman who decides to climb Celeste Mountain despite having no real climbing experience. The mountain is alive in some way. It surfaces fears, memories, and a darker version of Madeline that she has to reckon with. The gameplay is tight 2D platforming. You run, jump, climb walls briefly, and do a single mid-air dash. That's your whole toolkit. The levels are built around that dash mechanic and get extraordinarily creative with it. Spike rooms, moving platforms, wind currents, and crystal hearts hidden in brutally difficult B-side levels. Every single screen is a self-contained puzzle, and the satisfaction when you finally clear a tough section is enormous. There's an assist mode that lets you slow time or skip sections entirely. Zero judgment. The game puts that right up front. Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. This is the one tactics RPG that tactical RPG fans point to when someone asks what the genre can be. Now fully remastered with voiced dialogue and enhanced visuals, this is one of the deepest and most story-rich strategy games ever made. You play as Ramza Beulf, a young noble who gets pulled into the political chaos of the kingdom of Ivalice during a civil war called the War of the Lions. The story is dark, layered with betrayal, religion, and class struggle, and it doesn't talk down to you. The battle system puts your party on isometric 3D maps, and every fight becomes a puzzle of positioning, turn order, and skill combinations. You assign jobs: Knight, White Mage, Dragoon, Ninja, and over 20 total, and abilities learned in one job carry over when you switch to another, meaning the build options are enormous. Tame chocobos, bring creatures into battle, and build a party that reflects exactly how you want to play.
It's over!
I'm not ready to die.
One step at a time.
The team behind Vampire Survivors decided to take that snowballing chaos and rebuild it from scratch as a turn-based dungeon crawler. And the result is genuinely its own thing. You pick a crawler. Each one starts with a different deck and playstyle, and descend multi-floor dungeons filled with monsters, traps, and treasures. Combat is card-based. You play cards in ascending mana order, and each card triggers a combo that multiplies the effect of the next one. Stack them high enough, and you can chain absurd damage across an entire room of enemies. Between floors, you level up and add new cards to your deck, chase weapon evolutions, and hunt for the shovel that lets you dig to the next level. The dungeon layouts are procedurally generated, but contain handcrafted bosses and hidden secrets. Between runs, you spend currency in a village to unlock permanent power-ups that carry forward. Inscryption starts as a card game and transforms into something completely different by the time you finish it, and saying much more than that would ruin it. You wake up in a dark cabin, across the table from a cloaked figure named Leshy, and you play a deck-building card game against him. You build a deck from animals, pay their costs with blood or bones, and manage power and health in tactical card battles. The interesting part is the room around you. You can get up from the table, explore the cabin, solve puzzles, find items, and use them to affect the card game itself. Winning a run has consequences. Losing has consequences. The game keeps pulling the rug out from underneath you in ways that feel genuinely shocking the first time through. The card mechanics themselves are excellent. Squirrel tokens, sacrifice chains, item cards, and a host of unlockable sigils that change how cards behave. But Inscryption isn't primarily a card game. It's a mystery that uses a card game as its cover. Splatoon 3. You're a squid kid with an ink gun in a post-apocalyptic world where humans are long gone, sea creatures evolved, and the biggest thing happening is turf war competitions. Splatoon 3's main multiplayer mode, Turf War, is simple. 2 teams of 4 cover as much ground as possible with colored ink in 3 minutes. The team with more surface covered wins. But the moment-to-moment gameplay is wild. You shoot ink, swim through your own ink at high speed, super jump to teammates, and use special weapons that range from missiles to black holes. Every weapon type completely changes how you play. Rollers flatten everything in front of them. Chargers snipe from across the map. Sloshing buckets lob ink in arcs. Ranked modes add objectives like pushing a payload, capturing zones, and controlling a tower. The Salmon Run co-op mode drops 4 players into wave-based battles against massive boss salmonids, and is genuinely some of the best cooperative gameplay on the platform. Balatro is a poker-based roguelike, and it is dangerously addictive in a way that shouldn't be legal. You build a deck of 52 standard playing cards and play poker hands, pairs, straights, flushes, full houses, to score enough points to beat escalating blinds. The twist is jokers, wild cards with passive abilities that bend and break the rules of scoring in increasingly ridiculous ways. One joker multiplies your score when you play a heart. Another adds bonus chips for every card discarded. Stack a dozen jokers, and suddenly a single pair is scoring in the millions. You choose from randomly offered jokers and card upgrades during each run, so every attempt builds toward a completely different, broken combo. Rounds can go from desperate to hilariously overpowered in a single shop stop. There are 8 playable decks that each change the rules of the game, multiple difficulty levels called stakes, and dozens of vouchers that modify how the shop works. Stardew Valley. A farmer moves to the valley left to them by their grandfather, an old, overgrown farm that needs a lot of love. You plant crops, raise animals, fish at the river, go mining in the caves, and slowly build relationships with the townspeople living nearby. The gameplay structure is built around your in-game day. You have energy and hours, and how you spend them is entirely up to you. Want to spend the whole spring fishing? Go ahead. Want to focus on upgrading your farm equipment? Do that. The cave system under the mountain has 10 floors of procedurally generated mining and combat that gets progressively more dangerous and rewarding. Each of the town's residents has a personality, backstory, and relationship arc that unfolds through gifts and conversations over time. You can date, marry, and start a family. 4 players can farm together online. Seasonal festivals and new crops every few months keep the rhythm fresh. Hades 2. Melinoe is the princess of the underworld, sister to Zagreus, and she has spent her entire life training under Hecate for one purpose: to kill Kronos, the Titan of Time, who escaped Tartarus and laid siege to the underworld. The premise hits harder than the first game, and the stakes feel bigger from the jump. Gameplay is the same core roguelike action. Fight through procedurally generated rooms across distinct biomes, pick up boons from gods, and reach the boss. But Melinoe plays differently from Zagreus. She has a magic gauge that powers her special spells and hex abilities granted by Selene, the moon goddess. Weapons include the Sister Blades, Moonstone Axe, and the Argent Skull, each requiring completely different build strategies. The game also features Arcana cards, a new meta progression system where you unlock and activate passive buffs up to a limit that expands as you play. Pokémon Pokopia. You play as a Ditto who has transformed into a human-like form, arriving at a barren, empty land with nothing on it. Your job is to build a paradise from scratch, collecting wood, rocks, and crafting materials to construct furniture, homes, and environments. And the better your world becomes, the more Pokémon come to live in it. As Pokémon move in, they teach Ditto their moves, which you then use as tools in the world. Bulbasaur's leafage grows plants. Squirtle's water gun waters crops. Pikachu's Thunderbolt does something you won't expect. The whole world bends and changes based on what Pokémon are living there and what you've built for them. Once they arrive, you can interact with them, fulfill their requests, and improve their homes to attract even more species. It combines Animal Crossing, Dragon Quest Builders, and a little Viva Pinata into something that feels completely its own. The story underneath is quiet but surprisingly emotional. Climb a spire, kill what's in your way, build a deck, die, do it again. Slay the Spire launched the modern deck-building roguelike genre as we know it, and it still sits at the top. You pick one of 4 characters, each with a completely unique deck of cards and playstyle, and work your way up 3 acts of increasingly difficult rooms filled with monsters, elites, bosses, events, and merchants. Your deck starts small, and you add new cards after every fight, choosing from a random selection of 3. Relics, passive items found throughout the run, completely change how your character functions. One relic makes all your attacks hit twice. Another makes you start every fight with extra energy. The combinations between cards and relics create thousands of possible builds per character, and discovering a broken synergy mid-run feels like cracking a code. Every decision matters: which path to take, which cards to add or remove, which relics to prioritize. "20 games that will absolutely wreck your schedule in the best possible way. Whether you've played all of these or you're adding some new ones to your library right now, enjoy every hour. Drop your favorites in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.